In this video, we're going to explore all about algebra, and this is through the perspective of giving a specific graph where on the horizontal we have our x and on our vertical we have our y axis. We are first given a line that is going along this particular space, and this line we are going to describe everything about this line, and this here involves the following. First is the region where this particular line touches the y-axis, and this here is projected all the way to this space. And to address these, we are going to label this region here to be known as the coordinate 0, and our y is represented as b. This here implies that we have a labeled point, which implies that this here is the y-intercept. And once this is achieved, the next thing we're going to describe about this line involves various points about this line. First is we're going to pick 2 points. The first point we're going to highlight is right here, which we're going to represent as the base point, and the base point can be projected to the y-axis, which is represented as y0, or we can say f at x0, where in here our projection on the x is represented as our x0, while the other point here is further out, which is labeled as the second point, and our second point has the coordinate that is expressed as where our y is going to be shown as y1, or we can say f at x1. The x is represented as x1. Now, labeling the coordinates of our base point and our second point, our base point is expressed as bracket open x0, comma y0, comma bracket close, and for our second point we have bracket open x1, comma y1, bracket closed. Now our next step is to address how this line is running versus how it is rising, and this here shows how your y changes versus how your axis changes. And so to address that, we're going to realize that yes, our y goes from our y1 to y0, and this here represents our change in y to be equal to y1 minus our y0, while on the other hand our x, which represents the run, comes from our exchange to be equal to our x1 minus our x0. So remember that this represents our rise and our change in x represents our run. Therefore, we'll be able to determine a characteristic of our line, which is known as the slope. Therefore, the slope of this line is expressed as the m, which is equal to our y1 minus our y0, which is divided by our x1 minus our x0. Therefore, this m is expressed as change in y over our change in x. Now, building on this expression for our slope, we can rearrange these in such a way that we are going to have our y1 to be equal to y and our x1 to be equal to our x. Therefore, we are going to have our y to be equal to m bracket or multiplied by x minus x0 bracket closed plus y0. Now this expression here is going to come handy on our expression for what this means, but let's move on to one other expression that you might be familiar with, which is by stating that where we have our x0 to be equal to 0 and our y0 to be equal to b, as shown right here, we are now going to express our new equation to be as y equals mx plus b. Therefore, this implies that you are writing your equation in terms of your slope-intercept form. While in here, this is crucial for we to understand that it is coming from when our line passes the point bracket open 0, b, where b can be any number that is laying on the y-axis, while this other expression that we just stated right here is represented as your point slope form. And this implies that we have a line that passes the point that is what? Bracket open x naught y naught, which is where this point here comes into play on this line. So once you're able to address this, we know that our y and x, which we addressed as our y1 and x1 respectively, is any given point, or we can determine what that point is based on our given y-intercept. So we hope you found this really informative about highlighting where the slope-intercept form comes from and where the point slope-intercept comes from and their uses in this video. Please hit the comment down below and let me hear your thoughts about this, about our first part all about algebra. On our next video, we're going to look at what are the two methods of solving a particular problem with different equations given either in a linear form or in a quadratic form. All the same, stay smart as always and believe in yourselves.